The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. Coming up on the program today, it's about growing great Brussels sprouts and raised bed mistakes. Our guest is author Emily Murphy, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour is full, and it starts next.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Welcome to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. We're happy that you've taken time out of your day, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program in 2022, that is, whether you're listening on a radio app through our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, at the top of the page, the Season 6 tab, or anywhere in between. We thank you for being with us. Big show lined up for us, and if you want to participate in the program, you can do that in two very easy methods. One being, you can send us an email, gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. You can send an email anytime you want, or if you'd like to communicate with us, you can do that by giving us a call on the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods. That number is 1-800-927-7469. 1-800-927-SHOW, S-H-O-W. If we can't get to you, leave a message, and we will get you the answer to your situation. Proclamation Goods, Holly.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet and a stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, the skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's 2 pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for a more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supply is limited, so order yours now at proclamationgoods.com. That's Proclamation Goods.
Well, we're going to talk about Brussels sprouts. Now, you either love them or you hate them, and most of the people that hate them have never had homegrown Brussels sprouts, Holly. We pride ourselves on the Brussels sprouts that we are able to produce in our garden, and there are some techniques and tips that we're going to offer up to you in order for you to have a better or the best Brussels sprout harvest that you can.
I think a lot of people think about Brussels sprouts and possibly think about some frozen ones that were served to them overcooked and mushy and
right. They're already junk to begin with.
Yeah, maybe they were mass produced. Now Brussels sprouts are neat because they grow on a stalk, and if you don't know this,
Google image this.
Yeah, search for it
because if you're not familiar, kids will find this fascinating.
Right, and a lot of people don't know this unless they've bought Brussels sprouts from a farmer's market or some sort of organic food store where you can see that they've grown on the stalk. So that is something to point out. Now, they do have a long growing season, so when you are growing them, you might think, okay, well, this is similar to cabbage or kale, but my Brussels sprouts aren't ready yet. Are they not okay? But they do take a long time.
We will put them in the ground as soon as the ground can be worked. So pick a year. Let's say the second week in April. That'd be a safe number. And then they are still there until the last weekend that we are in the garden, which is typically, on a good year, the second week in November, most cases. And we harvest the Brussels sprouts then. But it's not just plant and walk away. There are some things that we do throughout that process, throughout that time period, in order for us to ensure ourselves Brussels sprouts. Now, if you're going to grow Brussels sprouts from seed, you want to do that about 4 to 6 weeks before your last average frost date. Get them started indoors. If you don't want to do that, not a big deal. You can buy the starts at your local independent garden center. But we've said in recent weeks it's not going to be cheap.
Or you can just put the seeds directly in the ground.
Yeah, you can put the seeds directly in the ground. But if you want to ensure that you have something tangible there right away, you can start your seedlings indoors. And with that, a fun fact, there is over 122 different varieties of Brussels sprouts. Now, there's only a handful that's commercially available. There are some that, there's a couple of varieties that are a rosy or a red maroon variety, but most of them are green.
Yes, correct. So you want to grow these Brussels sprouts in very fertile soil. They are heavy feeders, so you want to make sure your soil is nice and fertile and well draining. And the other thing that's to be noted is you want to have consistent watering with them.
Mulch.
And you can use mulch, and you can use irrigation or even something like the tree diaper that allows for proper and consistent watering.
Right. You can use the water hoop. You can use drip works. You can use the tree diaper. We've used them all, and they all work perfectly for this application. When we plant these, you're looking at zone probably 7, 6.5 up to 3. You plant them in the spring as soon as the soil can be worked, and then you harvest them in the fall. In the southern areas, you're planting these in the winter months. Essentially, is the off time that we don't when it's snow on the ground in the north. We're talking like in the south, of the United States.
Right. So yeah, for the most part, you're going to keep in mind that they are a little bit of what's considered a cool weather crop if you do live in those more southern climates.
And what we have found is, now last year, there's videos on our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Put in Brussels sprouts in the search engine, and we harvested Brussels sprouts in a makeshift raised bed that we created out of an old wooden door in the attic, and it was in partial shade most of the year, meaning it got sun in the morning till about 1 o'clock, and then it was in shade the rest of the afternoon, and they did phenomenal. We had Brussels sprouts very close to the giant large marbles to almost ping pong ball size, and all the way down to pea size. So based on where it was at on the stalk, but phenomenal harvest.
Right. And you just want to keep in mind that you want to have them grow about 12 to 24 inches apart, because they do stalk out, kind of bush out. So just because you might think that you can plant them a little bit closer, you do want to give them some space.
So how do we get the big Brussels sprouts? Here is the technique. We plant them, we water them, we mulch them, we weed them, and then about 30 to 45, let's say for 45 days, let's say we're going to harvest them November 1st. Let's go with that. Back that off 45 days. Then we take a pair of snippers or shears or whatever you want to do, and you cut the growth tip off. You go from the top, because these plants will consistently grow tall, and you take the top 6 inches of the plant and hack it off. You think you're going to kill the plant, you're not. What you are doing is you're stopping vertical growth, basically putting that plant in a shock or a stress situation, and it's going to start developing the sprouts. A better guide to that time frame is when you begin to see the sprouts occur, wait about 2 weeks and then hack the top off of all your plants. Now, we have grown in the past Long Island Brussels sprouts, and they've done just fine. This year, we're growing a different variety, which is, I don't remember quite what the variety is, and I thought I had it in the notes here. But we got them, it's a hybrid variety. Now, we're not saving seeds, so it's not a big deal for this. And a hybridization of a vegetable is not a genetically modification. Explain briefly the difference between how a hybrid comes to be.
Sure. So hybridization is when a botanist or a plant scientist takes the favorable conditions of two different or more than two or more different plants and then creates that one ideal plant. So, for example, they could take a drought-resistant plant and combine it with a disease-resistant plant to make that child plant.
Right.
be more disease and drought resistant. So that is how hybridization works. It's just basically plant science.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Some people will often, you'll see people cut the lower leaves of the plant off as it grows. We've never found that to be anything that was substantial. We grow a Dagan, DAGAN hybrid Brussels sprout from Jung Seeds. And if you're still looking for seeds, you can certainly get them from Jung Seeds, jungseeds.com. Use coupon code 10TG22 and get 10% off your order at checkout. So we've got those sprouted. We just started those last week indoors, and we see no reason why they won't be good this year with the techniques that we continue to utilize. So Brussels sprouts, basically, if you've never bought them at the farmer's market or you've never grown them yourself, you're missing out big time. And we simply take and put them in the microwave with a little bit of cheese on it, let it cook for about 3 to 4 minutes, and they're really good.
You can also roast them.
Right.
You can kind of pan cook them. There's a lot of different options.
But go with the homegrown or the farmer's market.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to you want to have the fresh ones. Those are the best.
And when we talk about fresh, let's talk about meat. Walton's Incorporated has what you need to process what you're needing to eat.
So we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from, canning, preserving your fruits and vegetables, but what about the meat? At Walton's Inc., you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible.
But what if you don't want to do that? They've got seasonings, they've got spices,
seasonings.
They've got cooking, they've got thermometers, they've got tools for your kitchen.
They have all sorts of things for your kitchen, yes. So everything but the meat. Walton's, you can use code GROW22 to save 10% off orders of $50 or more and get free shipping.
GROW22, 10% off your order and get that free shipping of $50 or more. Well, be with us in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We are going to go over mistakes that people have made, so you don't have to, when building and constructing raised beds. You're listening in the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you with the harvest that you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com and use coupon code RADIO22 to save 15% off your order. That's rootmaker.com. The Water Hoop is a portable water sprinkler system that allows you to target water evenly around the root ball of your tree or bush. Conforms to various shapes for your watering needs. The Water Hoop reduces runoff and saves money. Visit waterhoop.com. Carpenter bees cause costly structural damage to wood siding, decks, doors, eaves, and railings. Our solution is Trapstick from Rescue. It catches carpenter bees all season long. Trapstick uses no pesticides. Carpenter bees are enticed by colors and pattern and get stuck on the adhesive. Save your wood structures from damage from carpenter bees with Trapstick from Rescue. Made in the USA by the makers of the popular Rescue fly and yellow jacket traps. Learn more at carpenterbeecontrol.com. That's carpenterbeecontrol.com. Protect your outdoor furniture, fire pits, grills, and more with custom covers from coversandall.com. Springtime means you don't know what the weather is going to do. Rain, sun, snow, ice, maybe everything in 48 hours. Covers and All's durable custom covers protects against it all. They've got a bunch of fabrics to choose from, and each one can be customized to fit any style, size, or shape to keep your outdoor furniture looking brand new year-round. Visit them at coversandall.com and use code GARDEN25 at checkout to save 25% off your purchase.
Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
This week's garden tip is sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Before starting your seeds, spray them with the amazing Dr. Zymes Eliminator at a rate of 1 ounce per quart of warm water. This will help fight dampening off and any other fungal issues. It will also speed up the propagation time. You can also use it when you're taking your cuttings. You can foliar feed or water into the medium at a rate of a ½ ounce per quart of warm water. This will prevent pest problems and fungal problems and ensure a higher rate of success. Dr. Zymes is OMRI listed, safe up to the time of harvest, and leaves no residue. That helpful garden tip was sponsored by the amazing Dr. Zymes. Eliminate and prevent garden pests with their 100% all-natural, all-in-one insecticide and fungicide. Experience powerful natural protection from insects, fungus, mold, and mildew. Try a free sample. Visit drzymes.com/garden talk. Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Tree Ripe, Covers and All, Ironwood Tool Company, Timber Pro Coatings, Blue Ribbon Organics, Natural Green Products, Algae Men, Dr. Zymes, Happy Leaf LED, Rescue, Big Tool Rack, Hot Bin Composting, Proclamation Goods. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. As it gets to the point of, we want to be prepared before problems occur, and it's better to have the tools to water correctly before you need to than make the mistake of watering incorrectly when the time comes, Holly.
Yeah, before tree diaper, watering trees, shrubs, bushes probably was not your favorite thing to do on your property, let's be honest. You overwatered or maybe you underwatered and there was splash up. It could cause all sorts of situations, and we did it too. But with the tree diaper, it's not really a job. Tree diaper is a revolutionary watering system that slowly releases stored rainwater when plants need it. The tree diaper is filled with water from rain or when you water and slowly releases water over 3 weeks. No pipes, hoses, or electricity needed. Whether you're a first-time gardener or advanced, tree diaper will improve the way you water your plants. Every time it rains, tree diaper recharges. Made in the USA. Check out all the sizes they have available at treediaper.com. That's treediaper.com.
Whether you need them in the garden, whether you need them in containers, whether you need them in the house, Tree Diaper has it all, and it's a unique product, and you should check it out. Search Tree Diaper on our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and we've done some videos on them, and they certainly have provided us with produce that otherwise we would not have been able to obtain. Well, talking about product and produce, people sometimes will choose to go to a raised bed for a variety of different reasons. Now, raised beds can be made out of all sorts of material, logs, metal, cinder blocks, but the most common is wood, typically a 2x-something material, 2x10, 2x12, 2x8, something like that. And sometimes it's treated or untreated, and there's some pros and cons to both of those.
Right. And this is something that we actually recently went through in 2020 and then in 2021.
Had nothing to do with what was going on in the world. This was something we had planned already. This wasn't a direct result because of.
Right. I remember calling for lumber prices before the pandemic.
The fun stuff happened, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we decided to, in 2019, I think, we finally said, next year we're going to go with the raised beds. So between the 2 years, we did invest a decent amount of money.
Right.
And we built 8 raised beds?
Something like that. 4 big ones and then several smaller ones. Yeah. And then we added additional ones. Yeah, the whole deal.
And then we filled in with soil. And we paid for delivery of the soil because neither of us have a truck.
And we paid for the lumber because
Yes.
the lumber, we were getting 16-foot long planks of 2x12. We'll get into all that in a moment. But treated or untreated, ours is treated. But if you feel that treatment of the wood is unsafe, you can certainly get a untreated and use Timber Pro Coatings USA, which is an internal wood stabilizer that preserves the wood from the inside out and never washes off, and it will last for many, many years beyond what you would think wood should, and that's Timber Pro Coatings USA, timberprocoatings.com. timberprocoatingsusa.com, internal wood stabilizer. But wood is treated now with a copper versus an arsenic as it was years ago. And different studies have shown that copper is not dangerous if any was to leach into the soil. However, make note of this. If you're going to be farming or gardening for a certification and get your produce certified organic, you can't use treated wood. You have to have a plastic barrier between the soil and the wood. It's a whole big deal. But that's a debate and a conversation for another day. We don't find it to be a dangerous concern. You may, and that's fine. So
let's talk about
the mistakes.
And we did make some mistakes, and that's okay. We were learning, and I think the biggest one is that we used cheap short screws.
No, we don't. We used
nails.
We used nails. We did two different building time frames.
I'm like, what? This isn't our mistake.
Yeah. We built several beds, one in 2020, and then in 2021 we built more beds. The first set of beds we used 6-inch ring shank nails. Now, if you're on the farm and you know 6-inch ring shank nails, you use that for a variety of different. I mean, you can't have a toolbox without ring shank nails on the farm. But when you're nailing raised beds together and your wood is 2.5 inches thick, that's a lot of hammering. Then we went to 4-inch ring shank nails on the second run, which that was ideal. If you don't want to do a lot of hammering, you can use deck screws. Galvanized deck screws work fine. That way, in the instance that you may need to disassemble, replace, or move, you can take the beds apart. Whenever with our beds, they ain't going anywhere unless we physically take a sawzall and cut the nails and then break them off. That's a whole. But
I think we could probably kind of kick them apart.
Yeah, but you want good, secure fasteners. Now there are some blocks in which you can buy at your big box store that has grooves in which the wood will set into, but that's not always the best method. We find you screw them together or you nail them together, and it works really well. So don't cheap on your fasteners.
Right.
This is all an investment. If you do it right the first time, it'll last you a long time before you have to do it again.
And I think that's the biggest thing is that you do have to look at it as an investment, because it's not like you're just doing this for one season. And then the other thing is that if you are putting it somewhere, it's going to stay there. And actually, my hairstylist just bought a new house, and it's a newer build, and she was telling me about how they're putting in their raised beds before they're even having the grass put in, so that because they don't have to worry about that portion of the grass, essentially. So
another mistake many people make is making the beds too short. Most people will say, how deep does a raised bed need to be? As much as short as the money is. Meaning, if whatever your finances will allow. If you can only afford 2 by 8 inch high boards, that's fine. We would recommend at least a 2 by 10 or 2 by 12. That gives plenty of depth for your root crops, and you will still have extra. You won't have to top the beds off as frequently as you would if it was a 2 by 8 or 8 inches high. Because
so we would say at least 10 inches.
10 inches, because if you've got 8 inches, you're only filling them about 5.5, and then it'll be down 2 inches by next year, and it's a whole big deal.
Right.
So that is one thing. You want to get at least a 10. 2 by 10, 2 by 12, treated, untreated, whatever the case is.
And one thing to mention is that you don't have to do it all this year.
No.
You can do a couple this year, do a couple next year. It's okay. That's okay.
It doesn't have to be a one and done.
And also it gives you a chance to think about things like irrigation. Maybe you want to invest in some irrigation or something,
or
as well.
or know what you did wrong on the first 2 beds
Right.
and fix it on the next 3.
Exactly. There's definitely like a learning curve and investment, and maybe 2 raised beds is enough for you.
And
That's another thing.
this one's not so much a mistake, but just something to be aware of. The orientation of the beds. Our beds face north to south, and the sun goes over them east to west. So everything gets covered evenly. There's a lot of studies out there saying you should or you shouldn't do this or do that, but kind of figure out where the sun's going to be at all times of the year, because everything's great in spring. Everything's got sun, and then trees fill out, and then you've only got a couple hours in this bed, none in this bed. So make that aware that you know what's going on with the sun throughout the year. Other thing that people make a mistake on, Holly, is they invest in the wood. We got 2x12 treated lumber. We spend all this money. We got to get the cheapest soil possible because we don't have any more money left.
Right. So
Or they take the fill, like regular garden soil, they dig it up in the corner and then fill the raised bed. And don't do that, because why make a raised bed then?
So that's another thing, and that's why I was making calls to figure out what the best deal was, essentially, and what we wanted to pay for, or I guess what we wanted to invest. So that's one thing, is that if you can only afford to fill, a couple raised beds with some really good, clean potting soil, compost, etc., then just do a couple.
Right.
Don't go into your back 40 and dig out some fill.
Because you might as well just grow in the ground, because the purpose of a raised bed is to get good, clean soil. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have 0 weeds. You're going to have weeds, but not to the magnitude of what you would have if you were growing in the ground. Milwaukee Market, Blue Ribbon Organics is where we got our compost from. Our raised bed mix has worked phenomenal. So keep that in mind. Other thing that a lot of people do not take in consideration, maybe it's not a mistake, but they just don't think about it, is how much space do I need between bed and bed? Oh, the smaller the space is, the more beds I can fit into the backyard. However, a minimum you need is 2 feet per bed, or if you're going to use a wheelbarrow, 3.5 to 4 foot per bed. People don't think about that. And then you're trying to mow grass and you can't get that through. You got to use the weed whacker and the whole deal. So it's problems there. Other things that, people are thinking, oh, I just shove it in and be done with it.
Right. So there's definitely a lot of consideration in this process, and you want to keep that in mind, is that it's not as easy as slapping together some boards and then
watch and read a lot of articles online. The internet is a phenomenal tool, and they have it on computers now. So you can watch videos and see what other people have done and take and glean a little bit from everybody, and then go, I didn't like what they did. I like what they did. And you can put together, because we've got time. You don't have to do the raised beds in the spring before you plant. You can do a summer garden. You can do a fall garden, as whenever the finances or the time is allowed in your world.
One thing I would mention is, you want to consider the space between the raised beds. And you also might want to consider is if you want to keep mowing the lawn between those raised beds, and maybe you want to invest in something like wood chips or gravel.
From chip drop.
Right. Or something where you can put something that's not grass there to smother out the grass, and then you have a different sort of medium between those raised beds.
Right. Wood chips would be great. You go to chipdrop.com, sign up for a free account, and the tree trimmers in your area will deliver the wood chips to your property, and you can get you don't really have a say-so in the amount, but you may be getting 4 yards or 20 yards. So it will allow you to utilize free resources in your area to save you money if you're going to do a lot of mulching, so you don't have to mow. So keep that in mind when you're building raised beds. And if you have any questions and the best advice on a certain situation with your raised beds, gardentalkradio@gmail.com is our email address, in which you can certainly get a hold of us. Well, another problem people have, Holly, and they are not aware of it until it's too soon, is those Japanese beetles and grubs that are going to be filling our yards as the spring begins to warm up.
Yeah, spring is here now, and it's time to start thinking about those beetles and grubs in your yard, garden.
They're everywhere. They're going to be everywhere.
They are everywhere. You can just, you don't even have to read about it. You can remember back to last year, and they're all over the news, and your neighbor's probably telling you about them too.
Well, Grub Gone can be applied to your turf or garden and or around ornamentals to control and lessen the impact that the beetles have on your yard this summer. Easy to use and apply with any commercial spreader or irrigate right into the soil. Biologically, that specifically targets the beetles invaders without harming those beneficial insects that we're trying to bring into our garden, such as bees, butterflies, and ladybugs.
Right. And to be honest, it's the only non-chemical that works. You can find out more at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com. You can use code GARDENTALK10 to save 10% off your order at phyllumbioproducts.com.
Get those Japanese beetles and get them before they get you. Hang out with us. New author Emily Murphy will be with us. We'll talk about her new book. You're listening to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Take the guesswork out of composting with hot bin composting. Quickly break down food scraps within 30 to 90 days. Find out more at hotbincomposting.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Straw bale gardening is all the rage. Get your bale started easily with the Bale Buster Straw Bale Conditioning Formula. This is the only product that has been specifically formulated for use in straw bale gardening. Each unit contains 250 million colony-forming units of trichoderma, fungi, and Bacillus bacteria. In addition to the fertilizer itself, produces fantastic results with a bountiful production of vegetable crops. Start with the best to get the best, traditional or organic formula. Take the guesswork out of conditioning your straw bale. Go to balebuster.com to find out more.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use code 10TG22 to receive 10% off your order at jungseed.com. That code again is 10TG22.
Deer Defeat is an all-natural repellent to keep deer, rabbits, and groundhogs away from your precious plants. Deer Defeat protects your plants day and night, dries clear, and odorless. It will not clog your sprayer. Deer Defeat works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Safe, effective, and works on rabbits. Money-back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use code RADIO to save 10% on your order. Deer Defeat. It can't be beat. Chapin has the tools you need to water, feed, and protect your garden. We make equipment for lawn and garden care, and we are always innovating to help make your next growing season a success. Our newest products are the 5010 Rose Duster, watering tools including hose nozzles, sprinklers, and timers, the Mixes on Exit Backpack Sprayer that mixes concentrate as you spray. You can find all products at www.chapinmfg.com, major online retailers, home improvement stores, and hardware stores near you. Brought to you by Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardens, farms, landscaping, and more. Visit BlueRibbonOrganics.com or call 262-497-8539 to find their products nearest you. We know that you appreciate the value of a beautifully landscaped yard, but tackling such a project yourself can seem way too complicated, right? Bloomin' Easy Plants are the answer. Their plants are low maintenance and offer exceptional beauty and color for your yard. Plus, they offer free seasonal care reminders with simple how-to videos tailored to the plants that you choose. With Bloomin' Easy on your side, creating the yard that you've always wanted becomes as easy as plant, water, and relax. Check them out at your local garden center or by visiting bloomineasyplants.com. Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Rootmaker, Dripworks, Pomona Universal Pectin, Phylum Bioproducts, Tree Diaper, Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Deer Defeat, Water Hoop. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Moments away, author Emily Murphy. But first, do you want to have healthier plants and it doesn't smell?
Are you worried about your plant growth? Provide your plants with what they need to grow to their potential. Simple Grow offers 100% organic worm castings at simplegrow.com. Unlike any other worm casting products, when you order from Simple Grow, you're getting 100% worm casting, not filler plus castings. Promote ideal soil structure and aeration with Simple Grow's all-natural and odor-free worm castings. There's only one ingredient: worm castings. No chemicals or additives will seep into your food, and it doesn't smell like other fertilizers, so it's good for indoor and outdoor use. You can buy the bag, bundle, ton, or truckload. Check out what you can find at Simple Grow. It's 100% worm castings, what they can do for your plants, and order today at simplegrow.com.
Simplegrow.com, 100% worm castings. Well, Holly, let's go to the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods, and bring in our guest for this week.
Emily Murphy is a writer, expert, regenerative organic gardener, designer, educator, and photographer trained in ethnobotany and environmental science. She is the author of Grow What You Love and Grow Now, and is a native of California. Welcome to the program, Emily.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us on the program and taking time out of your day, not only educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners across the country.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here and chat about this book, and there's so much to talk about. Tell me again where you want to start.
Okay, well, let's do with this. Let's start with this. What are some good, realistic ways people can build their soil? Because everybody can go to the garden center and buy compost, but we don't always know what we're getting. But if we can make as much as we can at home, that would be better. How do we do that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And what a great point, too, that when you're buying soil or compost or some type of planting mix at the garden center, you're not exactly sure, at least most of the time, what you're getting. And it takes some trial and error there to get that right. And the best solution, if it's possible, is to either make your own or find it locally sourced. Maybe you have a compost hub. Or maybe you can compost with friends if it seems like an overwhelming project. But the role of compost is so important. And again, not all compost is alike. And it's one of those tools that we use to build soil in the sense that we're feeding soil. And we can begin that process from the very start. So, for instance, I moved a year ago to a new home, and there was no garden. It was an abandoned lawn / weed field with rock hard concrete soil, basically. And one of the first things I did was I built some veggie boxes. We have a lot of gophers. And I built veggie boxes, lined them with harbor cloth, just in case there are voles coming along as well. Harbor cloth has those smaller openings. And instead of importing soil from elsewhere or relying on bagged compost, which is fine if there's not another solution, But instead of doing that, I decided I would use the regenerative principle or no-dig principle you can find and grow now and actually compost in place. And so what I did in my raised beds was I built compost piles. I put down a layer of sticks and twigs, which is the woody brown materials. I put down a layer of greens and then browns on top, and then greens and then browns, and so on. And then on top, I did put finished compost, and because we just moved, I didn't have any made here. But I'm really lucky that just down the road is a local compost facility, literally a mile away. And so lucky for me, they had organic compost, and that's what I put on the top and planted immediately. And I was able to plant intensively, and within 4 months, I had from March of last year to the middle of summer. If anyone looks at my Instagram, you'll see that the garden was flourishing very quickly. And so that was one way that I was able to start my garden right away, composting in place. And of course, there's other ways to use compost if you're planting in the ground to help foster and cultivate existing soil. And that's something we can talk about too. It's such an important topic, and it's where every good garden really gets its start.
Now, the composting in place, I know some people are thinking, but won't that rob the plants of the nutrients because everything's breaking down underneath that layer of finished compost? That's not necessarily the case, correct?
Right. That's not necessarily the case. Now, that would be the case if you or whomever was making the compost pile put in an inordinate amount of brown material that was high in carbon, and then microbes then run out of nitrogen sources in that compost making pile. And the benefit of adding compost to the top, so layering in the 2-to-1 ratio or 1-to-1, depending upon your materials. And again, all that's in Grow Now. And then finishing with a top layer of, or adding a layer of finished compost on the top really is like the cherry on top, the icing on the cake. And microbes get to work. And really, it's not a recipe like your mother's chocolate chip cookies. It's more like a recipe to make this sort of compost pile. It's more like the mix and match soup you might make from the garden, a little of this and a little of that. Oh, and I have the basics of the soup, and voila, it works. And really with this process, it's about trusting the process and knowing that everything's trial and error, but this is a really good experiment worth trying.
Okay, great. And now with that being said, how does one increase biodiversity in their garden, even in the smallest of gardens, whether it be a small container garden or something just a medium size to larger garden in their backyard?
Right. That's another great question. And it segues lovely or wonderfully from the compost conversation we were just having. So there are two key components. Well, there's many key components, but there are two key components to begin with when it comes to fostering biodiversity, whether it's in a set of containers or grow bags or raised beds or whatever space you have to work with. Not everyone has a tenth of an acre, let alone a half of an acre to grow in. And what's important to remember is that every little bit counts. And it begins with soil care, how we prepare our soil and how we feed the soil, because we're really feeding the biodiversity in soil when we feed our soil, say, compost. And then what we choose to plant. And there's this lovely, wonderful push and pull between the biodiversity above ground and the biodiversity below ground, which is why it's so important. One of the reasons why it's so important to foster the ecology of soil, the biodiversity of soil, as well as the biodiversity above ground. And one of the drivers of that are the plants we grow. And fostering biodiversity above ground, one begins with soil, but again, the plants we grow. And that can happen by, we can drive that ship by growing native plants or growing high-functioning ecological plants. This includes herbs like thyme and oregano. They produce flowers that are favorites of hummingbirds and bees. They provide food for us. And so there's a number of plants that provide ecological services. They can be food plants, native plants, or other plants. One of my favorites that isn't a native to my area is Verbena bonariensis, the tall or purple verbena. It's hardy. It self-seeds. It's such a great nectar plant, and needs very little water. It's not fussy. That's one example of a plant that would also grow well in a container, and immediately you are supporting biodiversity, which is really that simple. It's remarkable.
Well, let's talk about your new book, Grow Now, that came out this past February 1st. Tell us more about it, and tell our listeners what is something in it that you would that would encourage our listeners to pick up a copy.
Well, thanks for asking. This book came out February 1st, and it is a book that I really hope works some magic. It covers topics such as rewilding, going beyond organic, sequestering carbon, supporting biodiversity. The subtitle, How We Can Save Our Health, Communities, and Planet One Garden at a Time, is a tall order for a subtitle of a book. And I worked really hard in the months of writing this and photographing it to really meet that subtitle and include the information that we all need to grow better lives today and for tomorrow, and discover ways in which we can support our personal health, the health of our families and communities, as well as the health of the environment and of course our planet. And in many ways, this book is a look at climate action through growing, but it's also a look at ways we can support biodiversity and mitigate species extinction. And really what we know is that the root cause of those two issues is one and the same. And so it makes sense that the solution for those two issues is one and the same. What happens to be also is that these solutions are both answers and antidotes to our own personal concerns. When we grow a garden, for instance, and get our hands in soil, it releases serotonin in the body. It makes us feel happy, and it decreases stress, increases concentration. There's studies that show that children and people, anyone of any age, but kids in particular, if they have an opportunity to work in the garden or work in a school garden or play in a school garden or another type of garden, again, it increases their concentration and really gives them an opportunity to discover themselves in nature. And that's a wonderful gift to give anyone. And we get those same benefits. And so I really pulled in information like this and created a guidebook for living as much as a guidebook for growing our gardens, from vegetable gardens to landscapes that could then provide habitat that connects living greenways and the greater environment.
Great. So we are talking with Emily Murphy, writer, educator, organic gardener. Now, in your book, it says you encourage readers to think beyond organic. What do you mean by that, and how can they do so in their lives?
Yeah, Go Beyond Organic really asks each of us to consider what we can do that is more than just organic. Yes, skipping pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizers is necessary in order to support ecology and also our own health. We're only as healthy as the environment in which we live, and our food is only as vital and nutritious as the environment in which it's grown. And we can begin that process by growing organic and using organic practices to grow our food and our landscapes, the plants in our landscapes or in our containers. Going beyond organic is really a way of looking at how we can not just be sustainable or, again, organic in our practices, but how we can restore, regenerate, and grow more good. There's a writer, founder, William McDonough. He's the writer, founder of Cradle to Cradle. And one of the things he says is, in society, we're asked to drive less, waste less, pollute less, which is basically asking us to do less bad. And inherently, he says that tells us that we are bad. But how about we turn that on its head? How about we ask how we can do more good? Which is where I got one of the chapter names in this book, Grow More Good. Doesn't that immediately make you feel better? For me, it's like, oh, okay, I can grow more good. And going beyond organic is really asking us to grow more good and to think about our gardens as these places of hope in action. And if we use these simple regenerative principles, which are applying compost to the soil, keeping living roots in the ground, planting perennials, again, to keep living roots in the soil, going organic by skipping pesticides, herbicides, and synthetic fertilizers, and supporting biodiversity with a biodiverse range of plants. That's all a really great start for going beyond organic. And it's really that simple, and it's incredibly effective.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. If somebody has started a garden within the last few years, but they feel like they're stuck with their garden ideals, what are some encouragement that you can get them unstuck with? What are some things that you would encourage them to do differently?
Yeah, great question. Sometimes I find that when people feel stuck, or even when I feel stuck, I know it's time to switch things up and to try growing something new. Maybe consider moving things around if you're growing plants in containers. Consider your recipe box if you're growing a food garden. If you're stuck, it might be that you're choosing the plants that are available at your garden center because that's what's presented to you, but it might be time to open up a seed catalog and try a variety that you've never heard of before. And I think there, in that process of trying something new, that alone is exciting. You have to learn the ways of a new plant. Maybe you learn new flavors, how to grow that plant, and it really presents itself with an opportunity for discovery and curiosity. And that's where I would start, with getting unstuck in the growing process and asking yourself, okay, what new can I grow this year? Every year I always grow, for instance, a new tomato variety. And it wasn't until a year ago that I had the opportunity to grow any certain amount of tomatoes because my climate didn't allow for it. I had to stick to Sun Golds and Sweet 100s. And if I was lucky, I would get a couple early girls out of my plants. And now I live in a little warmer summer climate, or climate with warmer summers. And this last year I tried, I even grew black crims, which I thought, wow, I'm never going to be able to grow black crims. But I grew one tomato that has me really excited right now. It's called an indigo apple. And I didn't know what to expect. Actually, a friend brought it over to me. She had gone to a plant sale and brought it home and thought I might like to try it. And I did. And it truly changed my life. I cannot wait to grow that plant again. I'm already envisioning where it's going to go. And I hope it thrives as much as it did last year, this new plant. And so that might be what it is. It might just be trying something new.
Fantastic. Well, we've really enjoyed having you on the program and the information that you provided for us. How can people find out more about you?
Yes, so I'm. You can find me at Pass the Pistil. That's PISTIL, as in part of a flower. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, Facebook. I have a website, passthepistil.com. Again, that's PISTIL, as in part of a flower. And Grow Now and Grow What You Love, my first book. They're both available wherever books are sold. And I really do, again, hope that this book works some magic and finds its way into people's lives. It's not just any old gardening book. I like to think that it's more than a gardening book. It's a guidebook for living the life that provides us with hope for today and tomorrow.
Well, Emily, we thank you for taking time out of your day to share and enlighten and educate Holly and myself and all of our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And when we come back, your garden questions, our garden answers. It is the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show.
Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
Chip Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account.
A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA certified? You bet. No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. The same great company that brings you no more bugs, no more weeds. Kills weeds with no harsh chemicals, no glyphosate. No More Weeds is a commercial-grade vinegar base with a proprietary sticking agent. Great around pools, decks, patios, etc. Visit natgreenproducts.com, enter promo code WEEDS, WEEDS, and buy 3 1-gallon size units, get the 4th one free. Introducing the Johnny Appleseed Authentic Algeo Apple Tree, grafted from the last known surviving tree planted by the real Johnny Appleseed. The Johnny Appleseed Authentic Algeo Apple Tree was shepherded through nearly 200 years of American history by a family of rural Ohio farmers. Now you can grow this one-of-a-kind heirloom tree right in your own backyard. Order your tree today at shopjohnnyAppleseed.com. That's shopjohnnyAppleseed.com. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Spring is around the corner, folks, and Algae Men reminds you that this year, when it's time for spring cleaning, don't forget about the outside of your house. Algae Men is southeastern Wisconsin's go-to for exterior cleaning, including roofs, siding, decks, and concrete. So if you spot ugly black stains or green splotchy stuff on your home, let Algae Men get rid of it for you. We can restore the area back to its original look, not only in a timely manner, but also at an affordable cost. For a free estimate, visit us today at algaemen.com. Algae Men, we clean areas that you don't want to.
Thanks for listening to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. As you've heard through the program, many companies offering coupon codes to help you save on great products. If you've missed any of those coupon codes, you can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you. The Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show is brought to you by the following: Pro Plugger, Chip Drop, Bellbuster, Johnny Appleseed, Ivy Organic, Milkweed Balm, Walton's Incorporated, Bloomin' Easy Plants, Jung Seeds. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joe and Holly radio show. Big hour we have had for you, and we've still got some more information to provide for you. If you've got a question, you can send us an email at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call, 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469 from the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods.
Proclamation Goods creates cookware for the eco-conscious home chef. Their pans are non-toxic, have a lifetime warranty, and are made in Wisconsin. Their award-winning stainless steel Proclamation Duo cookware set is a 12-inch skillet and a stock pot that doubles as a wok. Best of all, skillet and stock pot hinge together to form a Dutch oven. It's 2 pans with the versatility of 10, empowering you to cook more with less. If you care about your health and strive for more sustainable lifestyle, then Proclamation Goods is for you. Supply is limited, so order yours now at proclamationgoods.com. Proclamation Goods.
Righty, let's. We had a couple of questions come in this week via email, and we will go to Brandon, who listens to our show in California via podcast. Thank you for that. He says, hi, Joey and Holly. I'm glad the show is starting back up again. I really enjoy all your great gardening information and tips. Your recent topic, growing asparagus in show one, segment 1 of season 6, a few weeks ago, got me interested in trying my hand at it. But I'm hoping to get a bit more clarification on what to do during the early stages. I understand that you won't harvest anything for approximately 4 to 5 years, as you've mentioned. But what do you do with do you allow the plants to grow naturally? Do you cut them back? What do you do in that process? Well, we thank you, Brandon, for listening to the program via podcast. And here's how we handle that, the asparagus growing outside of the harvest time.
So what we do is we just leave it. We let it do its thing.
The fronds will grow up and become very bushy. And
like a fern almost.
Fern, right. And that is creating energy or absorbing sunlight energy to build the root system beneath the soil. And at the end of the season, people will cut that back at ground level. We leave it alone and it falls over with the snowfall, and then we just clean up the debris in the next growing season. So it is how we do that, and asparagus will last 20 to 50 years. April, next question. April from South Dakota asks, what is the product that you use on pine to keep them from rotting on your raised beds?
You can get that product. It's from Timber Pro Coatings. It is the internal wood stabilizer. It's just go to timberprocoatingsusa.com and look for the internal wood stabilizer.
All right. With that, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of this program or want to revisit it, you can certainly do that by going to our parent website at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com underneath the Season 6 tab at the top of the page. Or we can send you a link to this program at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Well, next week on the program, we're going to be going over how you can successfully grow tomatoes, as well as building your soil 101. Our guest will be Terry Spite and Kathy Gentz, co-author of a new book, and we'll answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.